Big D Entertainment, in association with Dipsy Doodle Productions, presents The Dave Holly Hour. Brought to you by The Sky Lounge and Tea, XL Chiropractic, Quality Nails, Ale Hop Brewery Tours, and Jesse Moffitt Entertainment. The Dave Holly Hour features Sioux Empire Arts and Entertainment Conversations and has been recognized by the Sioux Falls Stage Awards with a special distinction for promoting the arts. A true lover of arts, entertainment, good food, and fun times, including an occasional Jack Daniels. Okay, so a few Jack Daniels. Here he is, Dave Holly.
Welcome, everyone. So great to have you listening, streaming, downloading, saying, hey, we like to follow the Dave Holly Hour Facebook page. Or you go to davehollyhour.com. No matter what, it is all greatly appreciated that you want to learn more about Sioux Empire arts and entertainment. And you're going to listen to some great conversations today, that's for sure. Coming up, we have actor Clinton Storr, catching him between weekends of being in a wonderful premiere Playhouse production, Cabaret. Phenomenal. Saw it on opening night last week, and it was amazing. Also coming up, a man that has to think on his feet, Bill Landsman from Improvanopolis, one of the new groups trying to get into the scene of improv here in the greater Sioux Empire. They're out of Brookings, so they've already done quite a few shows there. Caught them at a show here in Remedy back a couple weeks ago and thoroughly enjoyed it, okay? But the other things that we have to think about, of course, right off the bat, time to grab your favorite beverage, lift it high, and toast it to being Thursday, a.k.a. Weekend Eve.
Hey, the weekend isn't around the corner, it's here!
So long, hump day, in your frumpy way. We say hello to Thursdays with opening nights. The weekend is near, and we can see the bright lights. Yes, Thursday, you're so hearty, we can't wait for Friday, so a day early, we start the party. All right, lift 'em high. Depending upon the time of day, where you're at, what you might be celebrating, might make a difference as to what you toast with. But you know what I always toast with? That's right, Jasper Newton, Jack Daniels, Diet Coke with a lime, because I'm in my home studio and I can do that. But especially be careful what you're toasting, because our Weekend Eve toast goes out to graduates. The class of 2022 on all levels. So college graduates, yes, we will salute you with the Jasper Newton. You high school graduates, just depends on what your parents are serving when we go to see your party. And we have one of those to go to now. All right. The Weekend Eve Toast has been brought to you by Ale Hop Brewery Tours. People are talking about how great it is using Ale Hop. Take a look at their Facebook page. Here's one of the things you're going to see. Tina said this: super fun and convenient. You can go out, have a good time with your friends, not have to worry about driving home. Best of all, supports our locals. So no matter what brewery or distillery in Sioux Falls is your favorite, Ale Hop Brewery Tours lets you and your friends choose any or all. Book your private tours online at alehopbrewerytours.com. Again, that's alehopbrewerytours.com. If you're already out and about on the weekend, well, hop on a public tour. For more info about those, call 605-777-2183, 605-777-2183. Ale Hop Brewery Tours, where micro fans meet micro brews. Honorable mention. All right, what gets my honorable mention this week? You know, normally something that makes me, happy. Or if it is something sad, maybe it's a tear of joy or I slap my knee silly or whatever, but a little more serious note this time around. We had quite the storm last week in Sioux Falls. In fact, around the greater Sioux Empire. And there was a tornado a little further up north in South Dakota, but the tri-state region, really, Minnesota, Iowa, South Dakota, was hit with what was called a haboob. Yeah, for those of you that are unknowing about that, it's basically a huge dust storm, and it went from beautiful sunshine to pitch black quickly. And the winds picked up. I actually headed down into the basement. Having lived here now in this particular residence, we've been here 14 years, and that's only the second time that I have gone to the basement. But who this goes out to are all the first responders. You know, the fire, the ambulance, the police officers, everybody that had to respond in a quick hurry because there was a lot of damage in spotty areas and so forth. And so thank you to first responders, and also thank you to our utility people and cables. Midco went in and out for a few days, and they just kept working on it until everybody was taken care of. Same with Xcel Energy. Man, those guys worked hours upon hours. Personally, we were out of power from about 5 o'clock in the evening until 3:30 in the morning. Came back briefly. Then we got up in the morning, had our cup of coffee, and lights just kept flickering for about an hour and a half, close to 2 hours, and then finally went out again. And there were more power outages throughout the weekend as they were repairing everything. So, again, honorable mention, a big, huge thank you this time around going out to first responders and people that work for utilities, power companies, etc. Certainly do appreciate everything that you did. So that we can now say we're back to normal. Yeah. I wouldn't have been able to do this on that particular night, record this and put this all together for you because we were down. All right, but coming up now. So what we have ahead for you later in the show from Improvanopolis out of Brookings, Bill Landsman. He's going to talk about improv comedy and just being an improv itself, all the different things that come along with it, as well as, some of the things that he's done. But coming up next, right now, between shows, because it's coming up again tonight here on this Thursday evening, Cabaret once again for a full weekend. Last weekend, great shows from Premier Playhouse. Clinton Storr is in that. He's been in a lot of things for them. And we talk about how busy he's kept by staying on the stage. We'll be back with him in just a moment on the Dave Holly Hour.
Sure, they have darts, and you've heard me talk about how ruggedly handsome the trivia host is, but all caps fun never stops at the Sky Lounge and Tea. And fun is best had with your friends enjoying live entertainment, as in live and local. Yeah, the Sky Lounge believes in giving you the best bands, solo artists, and comedians from the area. The Neo Johnsons, Elizabeth Hunstead, Skylar Volks, as well as many others. And a great staff will make sure you enjoy your fun at the Sky Lounge in Tea, South Dakota.
Hi, my name is Jesse Moffitt, and I'm not a piano player. I'm a comic magician and hypnotist. I've been performing for over 20 years. I've performed at many events, corporate events, holiday parties, post-prom parties, graduation parties, state and county fairs, festivals, just about anything you can imagine. The funniest thing about the Magic Act is that I use a ton of audience participation, and that can make things really interesting. Put it down the front of your shirt. So my hand won't follow it. The best thing about the hypnosis show is that the volunteers and their imaginations really make it a blast.
Holy crap, dude, did you see what you just did? You could do that possibly to girls.
For booking information, go to Jesse Moffitt Entertainment on Facebook. That's JESSEMOFFITT. Or call 605-929-0964.
Time for more arts and entertainment talk on the Dave Holly Hour.
Welcome back, everyone. Yep, you know what I'm going to say. It's always a pleasure, especially when you get a chance to have a new guest on. This man has been doing so many things in our arts and entertainment community, especially when it comes to being in plays, being in musicals, and playing guitar or what have you. He's a multi-talented man and typically busy, but I just referred to him today as the workhorse of our community theater. Clinton Storr, how are you?
I am doing very well, Dave, and that's a very, very a humbling introduction. I don't know about playing the guitar, though, but but I appreciate it. I'll try to pick that one up so that next time it's true.
Yeah, that'd be great, wouldn't it? Well, that's the thing about a lot of creatives. At a certain point in life, they go, maybe I should learn that. Yeah. So that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
But minus the guitar, then, Sansa guitar. We'll call it a Sansa guitar situation. We are recording as per usual, or at least a good portion of the time, here at our wine bar. Now, typically there's two places. We either are in the back, in the events room, or we're downstairs, little bar down there. I walk in today and Ricardo says, here's our situation. We have a party upstairs and a party downstairs, but I've got a solution. So he finds a spot for us right here. And that's the way that he approaches everything when it comes to his customer service, too. It's not no, we can't do that. Well, let's find out. Let's get a solution.
We'll have our own party right here.
Exactly. And we're going to have a party with you, Clinton, because you are just a great talent. I love watching you up on stage. And I got to see that last Thursday, the opening night of Cabaret.
All right.
What an incredible production.
It is.
I've seen the movie. I have seen it back when the Sect did it 25 years ago, whatever it was. And always thought, nice show. But, man, this was hard hitting. Yeah.
It is. It was incredible. Honestly, I didn't know fully the story myself when I went into it. I'd heard so many great things about it from all the other cast members and the other potential directors. And I just said, this is something that I have to be a part of. And it's probably the most out-of-the-box production that I've ever been a part of. And I absolutely love it. It's allowed me to grow my character, to grow my understanding of things, musical theater, as well as getting to know all the different cast members and where they come from and their perspective. So it's an amazing show. I highly recommend everyone to go see it because there's so many different layers to it, so many different things going on in it.
Right. So you have this weekend yet to be able to do so, and I highly recommend it as well because I was blown away. Because I like to go to opening nights. And a lot of people say, why do you like to go to opening nights? There's usually some mistakes. I said, if I can enjoy it and there are a few little glitches, then it's a good show.
That's true.
I like to give that. It's like, well, somebody else even asked us. We go to a lot of Japa productions. They go, why are you doing that? You don't have any children or grandchildren in it, do you? No, but we're going to go look at the future stars that are going to be on the stage around here or doing whatever. So here you are in this lovely spot of, you just seem to keep punching away, and character. You mentioned that what you liked about this was being able to build on that. But do you ever stop?
No, I don't.
Okay.
It's just one of my either flaws or good features. I don't know. It depends on who you're talking to about it. I'm involved in so many different things. Whether it's theater, whether it's emceeing different events like First Lego League with MB or South Dakota Ballet, still a member of the South Dakota National Guard. My full-time job is I do cybersecurity, which really shocks a lot of people because you don't usually get IT people doing theater. And I'm just continually trying to work with different people, various commercials around the state and independent films. And I just really enjoy, again, learning about all the different cultures and personalities and people out there. And there's so much here in South Dakota in this area that people don't think would be there. They think they have to go to New York or LA or Chicago or something like that. And those are great venues, but there is so much talent and so much life and culture here.
It's amazing.
It is.
It's I grew up in the area down in Rock Rapids, just hop, skip, and a jump away. And when I first started driving up here at the age of 16, I think the population was between 80,000 or something. Now we're over 200,000. And what's been great to see is what grew along with it. And arts and entertainment community here, just phenomenal. Now we've got the 19th edition of the sculpture walk and so forth. And we're going on 30 years for the Premier Playhouse, formerly Sioux Empire Community Theater, and a great lineup they have coming up for that. When Robin was on stage and presenting that the other night, were you sitting there going, yeah, I think I want to be in that one, I think I want to be in that one? Or do you just want to be in all of them?
Most definitely. We're always trying to pick out what our favorites would be. I just love being a part of the productions period because I always learn from the different characters and I learn more about the process of how things are going. I've got my favorites. I'll maybe hold those a little bit close hold, that way I don't want anyone a chance to to set up against me. But
mental reminder before the season starts to have Clinton back. Find out what he's going to be in. But you've had quite a string that you've been in. Where you were in Lombardi. Like I said, you really don't stop, and you admitted that you basically don't. What's the thrill of being on stage for you?
For me, it's the chance to, number one, express myself as a performer, as a person, to be able to bring, immerse the audience into what we're seeing, to make them feel that they are there. They are a part of that story. They're not just being entertained, but they're seeing something that might make them think about some things in one way or another. It can make them laugh, it can make them cry, but just really to give them the chance to just be able to maybe step outside of what their own personal life perspective is and see what someone else's perspective might be. The shows that we're doing are real shows. I mean, obviously, unless you're doing something like a Beauty and the Beast or something like that. But even within those, there are elements in real life that apply, particularly in cabaret. There's people might look at that and go, oh, well, this is about a show back in, these days with the Nazis. And there's so many different things that are prevalent that can affect. And so for me, I love being able to bring that story and then that particular character that I'm playing to the audience member and really have them just engage with it.
What do you like to do in character development? Do you have a routine?
Oh, most definitely. Yes. So my routine is first sit back and watch the people that I think are really super talented performers do what they do. Like you get your Tristan Chasenhawks, Marisa Moser, Debbie Jones, Bob Windland. I just watch them. We earlier talked about Amy and Matt Morrison. I watch what they do and how they can become these people. And it helps me to develop my characters, not so much through emulation, but just seeing how they approach the different characters. And for me, it's about first learning what the story is, kind of taking all those great tips from all those great performers that I've watched, whether it's here in Sioux Falls or ones that I've learned from growing up, watching my own family members who I consider to be the ultimate characters. And then taking and adding my own flavor to it. What is my piece that I'm adding to it? What is the part that makes this is Clinton Store's part, not just Clinton Store pretending to be someone, but Clinton Store has become who this person is. And when I know I've achieved that when someone tells me that they can look in my eyes, whether I'm performing on stage next to them or they're in the audience, and they say to me that, I didn't feel that you were pretending to be that person. I felt that you were that person. And then that's like, okay, now I've arrived.
That's excellent. And you definitely have. And it's so great that you are a part of all of it here in the Sioux Empire. Love having you, show your talents up on stage. This past musical, though, Cabaret, technically, did you have 3 parts in that?
I did.
Yes.
So I played Herman, who's the owner of the club.
Of the bar, right.
And also, Max, who's the owner of the bar. Herman, who's a Kit Kat boy, one of the dancers, which is very challenging for me at my advanced age. And also one of the sailors that's, not giving away the show, but one of the sailors that makes appearances throughout the show. So, yeah, I was in and out stage several times in multiple costume changes.
Yeah. And what does that do for you as an actor?
Well, number one, it keeps you on your toes and it keeps you sharp. It gives me the ability to also do some improv. Because even though we have a script to follow and we have directions, from the director, and we also have to be able to add our own piece to it. Well, what would this character do? How would this character move? In particular, my character as Max, the club owner, there's a particular scene where I actually don't say anything, but I'm on stage, kind of center stage for several minutes. And that was different for me. I'd never done a role where my job was to simply stand there and be this person, but not say anything while the other characters were talking. And I thought that was, it was very interesting. But as the more and more I do it, I get more into it, and I find these little things that, well, maybe he might move his hand this way, or maybe he might walk this way. And that's when I love just kind of feeling that character out. And so that was probably the most challenging part of having to play these different characters, is how to make each of them distinct and not be the exact same person, even though obviously when you see me on stage, I'm kind of hard to miss and be like, who is he playing? Is he just the same guy with different clothes on, or is he actually a different person? And so I want them to understand that, no, right. I'm a different person this time.
Does one ever bleed into the other?
Sometimes. It depends, because again, we talk about those layers of characters in this particular show, Cabaret. The question was brought up in the very beginning: is Max a separate person completely from Herman, the Kit Kat dancer, or is Max pretending? Is Max the owner who's also a Kit Kat dancer, or is he the Kit Kat dancer who's pretending to be the club owner? And I thought, wow, that's an interesting, deep concept, but it's definitely they bleed over in terms of what their characters do and how they think.
Even though there's a lot of great people that love theater, I think you just brought up something that they probably don't understand or unaware of. The fact that when you go into this, let's even say it's a slam dunk Neil Simon comedy or something, and you've maybe even seen it a few times, is that there is so much more that goes into the thought-provoking of it now. Instead of just, okay, let's just start reading our lines, let's do a little blocking, okay, you need to be off book by such and such date, and then we'll just make sure everything's running fine. You evolve yourself into everything, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. I really admire some of the people I've performed with that can come in on day one and they have that character nailed down, and they still can evolve from it, but they seem to come out and they're almost what I would call stage ready, like from script read, table read. And for me, it's like I have an idea of what I want to do, and I come in with several different options, but ultimately the final character is a conglomeration of what I've seen from all the other different characters, how that person would fit and work well within that storyline, what else I've learned about that storyline, because that's another thing that happens is I may think I know the story, but there's always something else to it that I didn't know. And so once I get all those extra pieces, I continue to just add to. And then even still, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, when you go and see a show on a Thursday night, it may not be the same show that you see on Saturday or Sunday or the next week, because we still evolve our characters. We find different things in that. So if you've seen the show once, go back and see it one more time. You're going to see something different, and you're going to love it.
All right, so this comes out on Thursday, so it's tonight, Thursday, Friday night, Saturday, and then the Sunday matinee.
Yes, two shows on Saturday.
Two shows on Saturday, that's right. Yes, an extra matinee in there. What about as we record this on Monday? What's your schedule right now up until you get back on stage on Thursday?
Oh, my gosh.
Director's notes or another run-through?
Oh, well, yeah, we're going to do another run-through on Wednesday, but like I say, I stay busy. This has been my busiest season, whereas last season I was in every show premiere did. This season I've done shows with multiple theater companies. It was a goal of mine to do shows with Chorus and Premiere, Good Night Theater, Monstrous. I've already done a couple of I did one independent film this year, and then at least 4 or 5 different commercials. It doesn't slow down. I'm going to also start doing rehearsals for a Good Night show coming up here in July. So it's just
let's see, July. That's the Good Man Charlie Brown one.
Yes,
correct?
it is. Yeah.
We'll look forward to that.
So,
we're season ticket holders now.
For
Good Night. And after they announced what the prices were the other night, we're going to be for Premier Playhouse, and Corson is a phenomenal value.
Yes.
And then if you go down to Old Town, which we're doing Thursday, and taking in their show. You got a good meal too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
well, if we're going to talk about another meal, there's also the Sioux Falls Dinner Detective Show, which also gives you a good meal too.
Which I after the interview want to talk to you about.
Okay.
Because I have been in a few murder mysteries and a few things along that line, some interactive dinner theaters. So
yes,
we'll chat. What got you into acting? Was it a certain age that just happened and you go, gosh, I'd like to be on stage? Or was there somebody pushing you from behind saying, go do this?
Well, I officially started doing this about 2019, which is right before COVID, really hit. And I I auditioned for a few different things and got picked up for, we just talked about the dinner detective show, which they do at the Sheraton and different private parties. But I was always interested in it. But honestly, I grew up in Chicago, and in my particular neighborhood, there was no theater scene there. There was nothing really set up for me through my high school, or I didn't go to college until way later in life to do this sort of thing. I had, again, relatives like my uncle, who was always the ultimate jokester character, who pulled from all the kings of comedy back in the day, and would just make up different pranks on things or become different people at times. Even my mother was really good at doing different impersonations. And I just never had the opportunity to pursue it until I came to Sioux Falls. And I think what really kind of triggered me is I started hosting events. And just getting out there and getting in front of people and talking. And then I saw my daughter do Beauty and the Beast at Lincoln High School. And when she did that, it really just encouraged me. I could see her doing so many, shout out to Avery, how you doing? I love you. She was doing so many, I just couldn't believe that at her young age, she was doing these things and standing out there and putting herself out there in front of people. And whereas I hadn't done that really so much, I was more afraid to do it. And it inspired me so much that when Beauty and the Beast rolled around for, adults, I went ahead and tried out. I didn't make it the first time, and the show ended up being canceled, because of COVID. And then when it came around the second time, I said, well, I'm going to go at it again. But this time I've got, I've got the confidence and the fire in my chest to go do it. And wow, I got Gaston, a dream role right off the bat. And I was just, so overwhelmed and shocked and thankful to be able to do that. And ever since, I just haven't slowed down.
Yeah, see, another great point that you bring up, you didn't make the cast the first time, didn't stop you from going after it a second time and then getting the big role.
And getting the bigger role. Yeah, that was the funny thing about it. Like I was hoping to be, the bread maker, in the show, so it really just felt really honored to be selected for that.
What's been your favorite role you've ever played?
Oh wow, that's going to be a little bit tough. I'm going to have to say, I think I'm going to say it's Gaston in Beauty and the Beast. I am really, though, enjoying my role here in Cabaret. That's my close second and probably will end up topping out at being my favorite. It's such a different character to play because, number one, I'm playing the three different characters. I think the dance aspect of it, too, is really just interesting. It is a heavy show in spots. Yeah. It's very fun and I'm trying to think of the words to use to describe it, but it's very fun and different in some areas, but then in other areas it gets very heavy. And
it'll hit your heart.
It will definitely hit your heart. And if you stay and come in and see all of it and all the different pieces, you're really going to leave with some different perspectives on things, and you'll be entertained, and you'll also have some contemplation to do about different things.
Yeah.
But I have to say that one's really close second right now. Yeah. But Gaston is just the all around kind of fun cartoon type of thing. For me being that character was just it's I had to break out of that mode of trying to find characters that I thought I could play. Being a black man in Sioux Falls. Well, I can't play this character. Nobody's going to want that person. They're not going to believe that. They're not going to believe this. And Gaston was a really great one to play because it's an animated character. It can be anything, really. And just to be selected to do that, I just can't be thankful enough that I was able to do that. And it allows me to see, I can do other characters.
Right.
And even with Cabaret, perfect example. I'm playing the club owner in Nazi Germany. And again, I would have never thought I could do that. But now, I know, I can do any of these roles that I want as long as I, really apply to it and seek out help where I can from people who, have some actual training in these different things.
Where does all this confidence come from?
Well, it doesn't come out of nowhere. That's for sure. I would not say that I was the most confident person in the world. Maybe even 10 years ago or 5 years ago, I might say. It's like I said, I've been in the military most of my life, and that gives you a certain level of confidence to do certain things. Let me give you an analogy real quick, if I may.
May
I do that?
May.
Okay.
We are not restricted by time.
So all right. So it'll be edited out though.
No. Very few edits in this show.
Going into an audition, I like to liken to going out in front of a group of people and literally just, having to just take off your clothes and say, all right, here I am. What do you think? I know it's ridiculous, but in a way it kind of is, because you're exposing yourself raw,
True.
To this group of people that are going to judge you, one way or another. And you have to learn to not take it as a rejection. It's not them saying you're no good. It's just that they have a particular thing in mind that they're looking for, and you may not just be exactly what they were looking for. It doesn't mean that they didn't like you. It doesn't mean that you weren't good. It's just that they were looking for something specific, and you didn't meet that particular thing. You can try to always improve yourself and be better to make sure next time you do get that role, but you really don't have a lot of control over it. You just go out there and be you and add your flavor to it. And that's where the confidence comes from, is I always try to add, first of all, who is Clinton, my flavor into this particular role, not just emulate what I've seen before or try to pretend to be somebody else. What would this character be like in this scenario with a little bit of me in it? And if that's what they want, then they'll pick you. They'll pick you, every time. Just stand out and do, what you can do. And be happy about it.
So, as you said, you didn't make Beauty and the Beast the first time, but you get the one of the top roles in it the second time around. Did you do anything different in audition?
Yeah, I was definitely more confident. I remember walking into that audition that day, and I can remember other people who were actually at the first audition who saw me walk in, and this one was different too. The first one, you were kind of by yourself in a room and you auditioned, and then they called you back, and later, if you were good enough and you were in front of other people. This one was all in front of other people right off the bat, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go do what I'm gonna do. I put on my nice purple sweater. Yep, that's my secret. I go into my auditions wearing a purple sweater, ladies and gentlemen. Don't steal it. And I go in there and I get up in front of all these people, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna completely go for it. Throw away all the inhibitions and being afraid of what someone's going to think about it, because ultimately that's not going to matter, and just put it out there. And it's funny that sometimes the director or the people on that cast table will look back at you. Sometimes they'll smile. Sometimes they won't give you any expression at all, which back at that time we were all wearing masks, so you couldn't see if they were smiling or not. And I remember thinking, I don't even think the director likes me, as I did it and I didn't get a call back. And I thought, oh, I didn't get a call back. I guess, well, that's that. And then the cast list came out 4 or 5 days later, and it's like, yeah, you're Gaston. I'm like, well, there you go.
No need for the call back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They were like, no, we wanted you the second you were done. And I was like, and they said, we didn't even have to think about it. And I was like, wow. And you have to remember that, that's just go out there and what do they say? Lay it all on the table, leave it all on the field, and and be proud of, ultimately come out of the audition with proud of what you did and say, hey, I couldn't have done any more. I did the absolute best that I think I can do.
Oh, man, you've got such a great attitude toward that process, and it's so refreshing to hear that versus, sometimes somebody will take it all personally and feel that they're just not liked. But as you say, they have a certain thing they're looking for, but it is also great when you go in there and just blow their doors off and impress them with something completely different that they say, okay, this would fit this character then. So it's a great example of that. I love it. All right, so when you're not on stage, well, let's talk about the business side of you. Besides being an IT person, you've got your own small business with hosting events and so forth. How's that going, first of all?
It's going very well. I've also done some very, very well whenever I get a chance to do it. Unfortunately, I've had to turn some things down just because I was busy being on stage. I recently became a board member of Premier Playhouse, working on the Diversity and Inclusion Council, and just continually trying to find ways not only to do what I do, but help to bring others into it as well. Right. There's so many different, I've had a chance to go out and speak with different high schools back in the past through different things. And there's so many other kids out there that maybe aren't maybe doing DAPA, unfortunately, because of their family situation. But they want to get into theater, or they just want to learn how to be more confident. They want to learn how to do a job interview. They want to learn how to speak or how to be outgoing and stand out in a crowd. And so I go and I talk to them. I've got one coming up this Wednesday, as a matter of fact, at Roosevelt, and just to give them my experiences and my background, and to show them that I was just a dumb kid from Chicago. I didn't know anything. This is where I like to joke around and say I was the smartest.
I have the feeling that's incorrect.
I joke around and tell people I was the smartest kid in a dumb school. That's what I tell them all the time. But but being able to show them that they can do it, they can reach and obtain goals and things that they never even knew existed. And that for me was, ironically, coming to South Dakota and getting involved in these things that, maybe back in Chicago, somebody told me, well, you can't do that. You're not good enough. You're not special. You can't do those. Nobody's going to want to watch you, and learning that, I can do this, and people do want to watch me, and why shouldn't they want to watch me?
Exactly.
I'd watch me.
That's another great thing. Boy, you've brought up a huge amount of points today. None of us like to say that we have an ego or we like to downplay it, but yeah, why shouldn't they like you? And and that's so true. Like what you're teaching kids, going into interviews and so forth. Here's why you're going to want me.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's a great part. And remember, there is a difference between being confident and being cocky.
Yes.
Yeah. So be confident and have that, and you certainly have it.
And be kind.
Yeah. True. Wow. Yeah. As I'm starting to say, I haven't decided which one I actually want to put on a T-shirt. You need a little art in your heart, or you can't have heart without art.
Ooh.
I've got about 3 or 4 different ones yet. I'm not sure. We might have to put it up in front of a panel.
I like the first one.
Get there.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
Okay.
they're all good. I like the first one right now, though.
I'll write that down and get it done. In the meantime, as we kind of end up today, I always ask 2 questions, but typically answer number 1 kind of answers number 2. So first of all, when you're not being a part of the entertainment scene, what do you like to do? How do you like to be entertained?
Oh, well, like everybody else, I'm a big movie watcher, whether it's at the theaters or, on TV or different plays or shows, things like that. I don't get out as much as I would like to some of the other plays in town just because I'm busy.
You're either on stage or
I'm either on
rehearsal.
stage or working on something. Yeah. I greatly enjoy working out, which they give me a hard time about all the time. but it's what I like to do, and it's been the nature of my job. I've had to do for most of my career. So really enjoy that. Really enjoy trying to spend time when I can with family and friends. I wish I could travel more to do that. Life is just really busy right now. I have a son in Colorado. So trying to see if I can get out there to see him more, go back to Chicago more, see the family, things like that. Just really diving into what's going on in the world around us. And like I say, because I'm an IT person, I'm still paying a lot of attention to that too. I know it's not the fun part of it, but
all right. So any other hobbies then?
Let's see. I'm trying to think. Other than that, music. No, I don't think so. I guess that makes me boring. I don't know.
No, not at all. And we're glad that you work out after that outfit you had to wear for being a Kit Kat dancer.
Oh, my gosh.
I would not have been able to play that part.
Oh, yes, you would have.
I would have pulled it off. Trust me.
It's all in the character. It's all in the character.
All right. Clinton Storr, you're a great character, but even beyond that, more of a wonderful human being, and it's been a pleasure to get to know you a little bit more and to have you on the show. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, I appreciate that, Dave. Thank you. I really enjoy the opportunity to talk to you and talk to the people out there about, just the different opportunities that are out there. And I hope that they take that away mostly, that there's, you can make it, you can do it, and that's what's the most important to me.
All right. And we'll be back with more of the Dave Holly Hour in just a moment.
Dr. Perry Langston and Dr. Corey Tooney know excellence is in you. That's why they provide you with excellent care at XL Chiropractic, improving your overall health in spirit, body, mind, and will. Get results the natural way. Arrange a consultation, 605-332-9235 or xlchiros.com. Excellent care for excellent people. XL Chiropractic, located at 4309 South Racket Drive in Sioux Falls.
It's the podcast that creatives in the Sioux Empire listen to learn more about other creatives. It's the Dave Holly Hour.
Welcome back, everybody, to the ambiance episode is what we're calling it, since we're in a little different spot here at our wine this time around. And we've got a party over to our left. There's a party downstairs. And it's evening time, so a lot of people showing up and having some good food here at our wine. It's time to say the usual thing. I love to say it. It's always a pleasure to have new guests on the Dave Holly Hour. And joining us now made his way down from Brookings, and he's been performing here in Sioux Falls a few times with his group Improvanopolis. It's Bill Landsman. How are you?
Good. And you said that perfectly. Improvanopolis. I know it catches
yes.
some people.
You have to take a look at it sometimes. Go, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, so it's a fun name. I love that. And not only do you have that as a group to perform with, but you've also been doing some, I don't want to say festivals per se, but, kind of some workshopping and so forth, haven't you?
Yes, like classes and such.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. We actually have one scheduled here coming up June 7th. We'll be doing that in Brookings.
Okay.
So I teach kind of my own style. It's been a hodgepodge of improv that's come to me over the years. I started out with a lot of the, there's a lot of the big groups. Second City, if you're familiar with these things, Second City, Upright Citizens Brigade, Improv Olympic. These are some of the older kind of groups that do improv. And I started out kind of like anyone. I took an improv class, actually not at one of those places, but with a great group in Southern California called South Coast Repertory, which is a great little theater, a big theater now, but outside of LA. And that kind of got me into the passion of improv. And then one thing led to another, and I found myself in places that didn't have any training going on. I found myself over in Singapore, was one of the first places. And at the time, no one was doing any. I was searching. Is anybody doing improv here? There were whispers of it. People said, "Oh yeah, there's an improv group." Couldn't find them. So one thing led to another, and I decided to start my own group there. So.
And what was that called?
Well, that was
Singapore.
improv. It was Improvanopolis. So
Okay.
Kind of going back. 2006 was the original Improvanopolis in Los Angeles.
All right.
It was me and 4 or 5 other teammates. I think it was five teammates that had met kind of as you do, doing a show here, doing a show there. Somebody had somebody that they enjoyed working with. So we started the original Improvanopolis, and I love the name so much, and I was kind of a founding member of that, that I ended up I talked to the other people like, "Oh yeah, Bill, we don't have any affinity to the name." And so I've had it going since 2006 in some way, shape, or form wherever I go.
Oh, that's fantastic. So where have the other places been besides LA, Singapore, and
Singapore? I did a stint over in Australia and New Zealand doing How to Train Your Dragon. So it would always kind of come up, whereas like we had a lot of downtime on How to Train Your Dragon, it was a live show. We had tons of downtime, so I would say, "Hey, does anybody want to do some improv?" And so we kind of formed the little band there. And then also Dubai. Dubai was the other place. I did a year in Dubai doing, they were opening up a theme park called Dubai Parks and Resorts. And so I started up a little group there too. And we never got a chance to, in some of these places, we never got a chance to perform live on stage, but I did jump on stage with a group there. So,
all right. So 2006 was the start.
2006 was the start.
How soon was that after you took your first improv class and so forth?
Oh, let's see. So 2002, I think, was my first one.
Okay.
I did that.
You have 20 years of improv under your belt.
Yeah. Yep. And I think it was one of those things where I was an engineer. So going way back, I have a master's degree in engineering. I got out to LA and I had taken an acting class, or not an acting class, but a film appreciation class in college as my aesthetic. And I loved it and thought, when I got my first job, it was out in Riverside, California, but I was living in Orange County. And I thought, I think I'm going to try and find an acting class. And I found this acting, actually a pretty prestigious group, the South Coast Repertory, and took an acting class, took an improv class, and then another acting class. And then I was like, well, I think I'm going to quit my job and become a full-time actor. And so that was kind of my little start.
Right. Yeah. And where is the acting taking you then?
It's taken me around the world. I've lived in 6 different countries, so Australia, New Zealand, Singapore. Did shows in Mexico, Canada with Walking with Dinosaurs. That was one gig that I got. So puppeteering. So that was two things that I kind of got into were, it seemed like puppeteering, improv, and I've done some big stage productions they have a huge Shakespeare in the Park in Singapore. You wouldn't think it, but 2,000 to 3,000 people a night productions.
Incredible.
Beautiful
Wow.
productions.
Yeah.
They were super fun.
All right. And so I know when we spoke, you were performing at Remedy.
Yep.
A few weeks back. And that was the first time that I met you. I've been in improv groups before, and I ended up being part of one of your games that you play and so forth. And I could see, a different spin on some of the traditional games and so forth. That was fun to see. But one of the things that you said is you really want to start an improv community down here.
Yes.
In this area. Well, with other groups that are already going and so forth, what are you hoping to accomplish that way then?
Well, one of the things we were doing the night you came out was we came up with this thing in Singapore called free range improv. Kind of took the spin, being in the Midwest, bison, free range,
Right.
and having bison. Bison are a big kind of a spirit animal for me. So bison kind of get into a lot of my marketing. But one of the things we tried doing was, called it free range improv. Just come play, come as your group. So if you come with your team and you play a couple games, but then what we're hoping to do the next time we do it is people will show up and say, hey, why don't you from this group and somebody from Improvanopolis, you guys jump up and do this game. You know how to play alphabet, or you know how to play, let's say, what do you call that one? Let's say toaster. But some of these games, once you see them once, even if you've never played them, you're like, oh, okay, I get I get the concept of that. Yeah, and I think you jumped into low.
Yeah.
So location, occupation, weapon. Usually it's kind of like playing cards. You might not have ever seen a game done before, but somebody could say, okay, well, it's kind of like this. Okay, there's high card, there's low card, there's trump. You have kind of a lingo, and you could watch a game and then just jump in. So what we're hoping to do is with that, as that kind of continues, is get more people just to know us as one thing. I always find with improv communities, there is a bit of a hesitation, standoffish, I know in some places there's a lot of different competition. But to me, I've always felt like competition in arts just doesn't really make sense. It usually is more of a synergy to me.
One of the things that this is episode 130
nice
of this show now, and probably in at least 100 of those shows, we always talk about the fact that the arts and entertainment in the Sioux Empire are not competitive, they're collaborative. And so obviously that's what you're hoping and wanting to have come out of it. And I can see that, that can work. So that's going to be fantastic. But even just, the fact that you've been down here and had some Sioux Falls shows, what's been the reaction then?
The reaction is good. I mean, we've not done as many of what I would call our shows here. We're trying to, also respect the community that's here and not say, I don't want to come in and be like, oh, this is, I trained here, I trained there. This is the way we do it. This is the only way to do it. One of the things, so coming into it, I know there are active groups here. We've just kind of dipped our toe, but funnily enough, Brookings is where we do most of our shows. Right. They have a nice community there. They don't have really any team that's going on. We just did a show on Friday in Pipestone. I don't know if you've ever been over to the Pipestone.
I performed there, yes.
It's a lovely theater.
Great theater, isn't it?
Great theater. So awesome. I did a show there in 2012, years ago, and thought I would love to come back and do something here. So we've done a show there. We did one in Elkton, in my hometown bar.
Okay.
Just kind of move the tables around and just have a bit of fun. So we're not necessarily. I would like to get into Sioux Falls more. It's like trying to find a venue. Not trying to say anything, but I've kind of found Sioux Falls to be a little bit. Feel like there's a few more barriers to entry in some ways, trying to contact places. Which in bigger towns that have more active community, it's a little bit tougher. But I definitely think we'll come in here and again, not trying to take away from anything that's going on, more of, hey, maybe this interests you. This could be your flavor for the week. And that's what I say even to my team. I go, I come in with what kind of my background and what I'm interested in. but I continually tell them, hey, what have you seen? What are you interested in? Bring it to the table. Let's play around with it. So,
what do you enjoy most about improv?
Definitely. So this is something I think about a lot. It's funny. I do have a background in. So I'm classically trained.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a master's or an MFA in classical acting, Shakespeare, which when I was growing up, I dreaded Shakespeare just as much as I think we all did. And the thing that I love about improv is the imagination, the simplicity. When you on the stage are opening up your mind to that kind of like this new realm and are imagining it with your scene partner, and your scene partner's adding, you're not trying to overtake what they're doing, you're not trying to push them into what you want to do, but you're using your imagination to grow something. And when the audience taps into that, it's, to me, there's nothing more magical. It's we can have a show with 2 people and a little space.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that, because I've done big productions of things. I've been on, the largest touring show in the country and the largest touring show in the world. There's a lot of moving parts to that. But what I love about improv is it's you've got your imagination, you understand the basic rules, you can create a story like that, just at the drop of a hat. And to me, that there's something, it reminds me of when I was a kid. You didn't have to have all these crazy toys or games or whatever.
Right.
It was just like, hey, we're going to play this. And to me, that's still my draw to improv.
Yeah, well, one of the first people I ever did improv with, he always said, it's like playing in the sandbox.
Yep.
Yeah, and I thought that's a great way to talk about it. And you just gotta, you be a kid, but sometimes the content is a little bit more than what a child would obviously talk about. But that's just nature in and of itself. So what do you said that you feel you have a little different brand of improv. How so?
Well, one of the things, I don't necessarily think it's a different brand in the sense of, I'm sure there's other people at other theater companies kind of doing it, is kind of I definitely story driven, not gag driven,
right.
Which is something that I try and talk to my team about, and anybody that I play with. It's like, yeah, you might be the type of person who can get up there and just like Robin Williams, gag after gag, and it's funny. It's funny. But what I've noticed is
another classically trained Shakespearean.
Exactly. So we focus on truth and story and acting, which a lot of times I think sometimes people think, I could never do improv. I couldn't do that. I worked with a lot of performers who were like singers, dancers, actors, and a lot of them came up and were like, I can't do this. But they were performers. They knew how to, where their bodies were in space. They had great minds. And once they got that kind of thing out of their head thinking, I can't do this, then they were some of my favorite people to work with, because they had I don't want to say they didn't have any bad habits when it came to improv and, having that,
right.
I want to be the funny one. Because improvisers and stand-up comedians...
It's always make the other guy look better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That I always tell my team, gifting is my term for it. It's like, how can if you step into a game and rather than say, look at this, look at that thing you're working on, but if you say, wow, you're working on a 1954 Chevy long block,
mm-hmm.
that's awesome. All of a sudden now they can say, yeah, my dad and I got into these when I was a kid. Now you're into a relationship, 2 people. How do they know each other? And to me, that's always the more interesting thing. A lot of the games we play are short form, but one of the terms that my team kind of got me onto is we kind of call it medium form, because they're like, wow, your games, even though we're just playing these short form games, you want us to have a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Right.
Like find that arc, who you are, where you are, what you're doing, what's wrong in the scene, and then live in that, that kind of tension.
And how does it get resolved?
And then how do you resolve it? And, that's what you always strive for. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. And to me, I always find it fun I'm equally as intrigued and enthralled when people are succeeding on stage and when they're failing. Because watching two people kind of suffer and fail can also be fun. Maybe not for the two people up there, but if they get their ego out of it, it can still be, you're still entertaining and still fun.
How many people do you have on your team?
Currently, we have 6 guys.
Okay.
6 guys and myself. Yep.
And you've been having some, like you mentioned earlier, like the show at Remedy that I saw you at was the 3 range. So there were some other performers that hopped up and so forth. But when you're looking to get somebody to be an improver, what do you look for in them?
Honestly, because kind of from my background, I always want people to, we're doing improv. Yes, there are no costumes or anything like that. But at the end of the day, too, I always tell them, it's like, if you're going to cry, don't do the, like the big showy, I'm a little baby crying. Like, go for it. Because what I also love to hear from audiences is sometimes you'll be in a comedy scene, but you'll have an audience, they'll go, oh, they'll have that moment, and maybe they're not laughing, but they're leaning in. Yeah. And to me, what I look for... They've got
emotion for it.
Exactly. Yeah. They're invested. They've watched this character grow. They're taking all those leaps with you. They're able to keep up because they're not on stage. They're not sweating bullets, right? They're not having to come up with all the little things. So when I look for actors, and I would say that, actors, you don't think of it as like, oh, that's improv comedy. Oh, I'm not funny. I actually look for people I love it when I get people who say, oh, I'm not funny, I'm not going to be good at this. I'm like, oh, just you give me you give me a little time and you're going to be cracking people up because you're a human. You're a human who has lived a life, and that's what we want to see on stage. Like, get some of those things out. Does that make sense?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Who do you look at? Because you've been in some big groups. And who do you look for then as a role model per se?
Role model. Well, I don't think it necessarily just, you could look at any, like, let's say we go back to Robin Williams. Robin Williams was a very unique character.
Very much so.
He had a mind that was so quick, and he didn't judge himself. Mm-hmm. So he would get up there and he might try 50 things, and to us, we'd be watching going, wow, 30 of those things landed, but 20 of them didn't, maybe. Or he would just move on. I'm just going to move on to the next thing. So, I mean, he's somebody else that I look at, Will Ferrell. And what I love about him, I know some people are on the opposite, end with him. Some people don't like him. What I always felt about him is he committed. He filled a character's, if it was an odd character or if it was a big character, to me, it felt like a pyramid where he had a solid base and it didn't feel pushed. It never felt pushed with him. I've seen people try to do his style of comedy, and for some reason, I'm like, I don't believe you. I don't believe you within that. So he's somebody, Daniel Day-Lewis. I know he's not in any comedy stuff, but then that's where I kind of flip the page and say, look at actors you admire. Mm-hmm. What are they doing? What is it about them? They're telling compelling stories. Now, if you just add a little bit of humor to that, which I think most people who kind of do get drawn to improv or stand-up, somewhere in the back of their head they think I'm funny, right?
True.
But I think anybody can be funny, right? And so to me, it's committing to a character, committing to a scenario. It might be serious, but Ricky Gervais, as we're talking, like that guy, incredible. That guy can write a story where 1 second you're laughing and the very next second you're crying, or a tear is just kind of coming because he toes that line so well. If you've ever watched Extras, yes. All of the actors that he gets on there, he gets, Gandalf. I'm blanking on his name, but look, Patrick Stewart, he gets all these serious actors on there, and they're so fun because they go for it. So to me, that's another example of that idea of anybody can be funny depending on the circumstance. Because I think he had Liam Neeson on there, and Liam Neeson is like, he goes, I know how to improv, and everything he does is like ends in something where it's just tragedy. But it's so funny to watch Liam Neeson so straight faced,
Right.
That can be fun. So yeah.
When you start a class, so you've gone ahead, you picked somebody, or maybe somebody signed up. What's the first thing you teach them about improv?
Oh, first thing. Honestly, what we tend to do is the very first thing is we get people in. One of the very first things is I just say, you have 3 minutes. Tell me about a time when you felt joy. So I'll have a little timer. And this is something I developed, kind of I've stolen things from people, things that I've tried to come up with, because I've taught classes in the collegiate level, so you had to have a little bit more of a curriculum. But one of the first things is tell me about a time you felt joy. The next person, it might be tell me about a time when you felt sadness. Tell me about a time when you felt perturbed or angry. And so I'll never tell them they might not get the same question. They might get something else. And they have 3 minutes, and I go, you just have to talk for 3 minutes. Usually one of two things happens. They start judging themselves, and then is the time up? Is the time up? And they still have a minute and a half to go. Or they get lost in it. They get lost in the details of this story, and 3 minutes goes by, it dings, and my time is up. And two things, I think that teaches people timing, because a lot of times when we're on stage, we lose time. Either time goes really fast or really slow because you're in that heightened state. And one thing that I always try and teach the team is to start getting a sense of timing while you're on stage. Because if you have an understanding I always think that there's two heads. You have whenever I play, there's always my kind of gut and my head, where you have to be listening to what's going on. But at the same time, you also have to have another brain going, saying, where is this going? What's happening? What's going on? But that's I kind of jumped ahead there. But that first thing is and then the other thing I like to do is relaxation, voice. So a lot of times in our first classes, we do a lot of movement stuff. I did a lot of movement training, Lecoq. We do Bratowski. So getting relaxed in your body. A lot of our stuff will be, for the first few weeks, will be voice, movement, and then a little bit of improv. Start, giving those basic first improv things. Another thing that I like to focus on is friendly little giant. So that's my mnemonic for focus, listen, gift. And so the way I look at it is you can't gift until you can listen, because listening is the first gift. You can't listen until you can focus, until you can get all that stuff that's going on. When you walk into that room, you're thinking, I got to pay the water bill. I got to do this. Am I bad? Do they not like me? All these things are in your head. Once you can get through that and start focusing, then you can start listening. And then gifting is all the things. Yes, and be specific. Don't ask questions unless they're specific questions. So
don't say no.
Don't say no. Yep. So those are so that's how a first class would run. Is kind of usually getting around, get to know each other, get comfortable, tell everybody this is a safe space, and then you move into movement and breathing, because breathing on stage is also another huge one. I mean, I've seen people who can command a stage and never say a word, right? And that, I think sometimes people think, I've got to talk. And if you're specific with what you're doing and who you are, I mean, there's people out there who have never said a word and still are able to tell a story. So
the two questions I always like to ask at the end, we're going to hold off on those for just a moment, because I just want to let you say, where you're going to be next as a troupe, and also when upcoming classes are. We'll let you promo that first.
Okay. So where we're going to be next, we have next Thursday, we're going to be at Wooden Legs at 7 p.m. That's kind of our home in Brookings. That'll be on May 19th, so it's the third Thursday of the month. I don't have a calendar in front of me, but I believe it's May 19th.
It is the 19th, yeah.
So we have May 19th, and then in June, what we're looking at doing is having I think that's the 16th of June. That's going to be we're going to try and do a little bit different format because we're going to do 2 shows. We'll do one on the 25th, which is a Saturday, and that'll be our 605 show, short form, kind of that high energy, what our main company is known for. But we're going to start integrating some new styles, so long form. And then June 7th, we're starting a 7-week fundamentals of improv in Brookings. So that's
How do people get a hold of you?
If they want to, they can email me at eclecticbison@gmail.com, and that's ECLECTIC bison@gmail.com. And that'd be the best way to, say, hey, I heard you on the Dave Holly Hour, and I'm interested in this class, and I can send you more details.
Excellent. All right. So the final 2 questions, quite often, answer number 1 kind of takes care of answer number 2. When you are not being a part of the entertainment scene, what do you like to be entertained by?
Ooh. That's a good question. Like I was saying, I do deep dives on things. One of my most recent deep dives was on an individual named Jean-Marc Leclerc, and he was a alpinist. So I like documentaries. I do enjoy a documentary. To me, it's fodder, because the more I can learn about the world, the more I have in my subconscious. So then when I get on stage, sometimes these characters come out. Sometimes these characters that I've been watching on TV. So movies, I'm a movie guy as well. So documentaries are one thing, but if in my perfect world for me, I love to go to the movie theater alone. I just love watching movies. I love the whole thing, getting the popcorn, going in and watching a movie. And I'm pretty eclectic in my, as well, kind of with Eclectic Bison. I'm eclectic in what I enjoy. I do enjoy the Marvel movies these days. They're a bit of fun. But at the same time, I do enjoy going and watching kind of I love watching indie films. But the whole process of getting out of the house and going into a movie theater, there's something about that I miss. COVID was kind of a tough time for that. I didn't get a chance to get out and see movies. I'd see 1 to 2 a week. When I was living in LA, I lived down the street from a really great little theater, and I would get in 1 to 2 times a week and see a movie. And I'd walk in there not even knowing what I would see, and I knew kind of some times and would walk in and, oh, this looks interesting, and just jump in there. And then the other thing I like to do to entertain me, I'm also a VW. I have an old VW. So I have a 1990 Volkswagen Vanagon, which is like a pop top Westie. Right. And it's 32 years old. So I have found many an hour entertaining myself, trying to figure out how to fix things. And when I was living in LA, I didn't have, as on an actor's budget, I learned the hard way that I didn't grow up working on vehicles, but this car has taught me. It's been the greatest teacher as far as learning about how an engine works and being able to get in there and turn a wrench. And now I'm to the point where I can diagnose things and pretty much replace anything. I've never done a full engine or transmission, but everything else on that vehicle, I've had my hands on.
Final question then is, any other hobbies?
Oh, hobbies. Any other hobbies besides that? Man, I think I kind of did it with my with the van. I would say my van is a hobby. I'm right now I'm building a tiny home. So one of the things I wanted to do when I first got here, I didn't know how long I'd be back in South Dakota, and one thing, South Dakota's home to me. Even though I've kind of traveled, I'd go away for a year, come back for a month, just because of the way contracts would work. And so I started talking to my brother. He has an acreage outside of Elkton, and I was asking him, hey, this old this old chicken coop, or not a chicken. It's a pretty good sized brooder house, like for chickens.
Mm-hmm.
I said, do you think I could convert that into a tiny home? And he's like, yeah, go ahead, for sure. And the mindset was we were just going to I was going to use scrap lumber from around the farm, because after projects, things you got lumber over here, an old barn goes down, you have lumber from that. So the goal of this was to make a tiny home using all repurposed wood. Yeah. And he had done some shingling on his house, so we had about a half a stack of shingles, so I used those. He had some leftover siding that never got used in his project, so I've been just kind of pulling stuff. And so that, I would say right now, when I have the time outside of fixing the van or doing improv stuff, then I go and I tinker out there.
Tinkering is always good.
Tinkering is always good. Yep.
Putzing around is what my mother said my father always did. All right. Bill Landsman from Improvanopolis. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Dave. This is fun.
And we'll be back and wrap up the Dave Holly Hour in just a moment.
Ladies, when it's time to give your nails some love, get that extra special treatment from Quality Nails on South Minnesota Avenue in Sioux Falls. Manicures and pedicures that look great and make you feel fantastic. Zaya and Tony provide professional care for your hands and feet, whether you just want the basics or an extra special look with added flair. Oh, and guys, it's okay to treat yourself too. Quality Nails. Call for an appointment. 605-334-1463.
Isn't that nice?
Thank you all again. Certainly appreciate the downloads, the streams, the liking, the sharing, and appreciate you going to our Facebook page and supporting us that way. In fact, in the near future, we're going to be talking about something that you may want to make sure you are a follower of the Dave Holly Hour on Facebook. Might be some prizes headed your way. In the meantime, thank you as well to our great guests. Clinton Storr, man, I had such a pleasure getting to know him a little bit more, and look forward to any time that he is on stage. He's just a workhorse when it comes to the community theaters that we have in this area. He's been at all of them, and we look forward to seeing more of him. Also, to Improvanopolis out of Brookings, thank you, Bill Landsman, for making the drive down and coming into our wine bar. And thank you, of course, to the man that put the R in our wine bar, Ricardo Terabelsi. And he is just the absolute most incredible businessman. And I don't just say that because he's kind enough to let us be down there. It's for everything that he supports. It's how he trains his people, how he hires well. That's a lost gift. And you know what? He's not an owner that just sits back and says, oh, let my staff take care of it. I want to go home. He deserves to go home. He puts in a lot of hours, and he's just genuine about what he does. And a couple more locations opening up under different names. But you might recognize the logo. All right, so again, thank you to all of those. And, of course, graduates, for those that are going to be celebrating, make sure you celebrate in a safe manner. And it's, an old adage that's said this time of year, we want to talk to you, not about you. So, graduates, be safe. Anybody going to any type of party, of course, over the weekend. What are we headed to for the weekend? Well, we took in Cabaret last weekend, so now we have to get down to the Old Town Dinner Theater for Caught in the Net. Another great farce that they're putting on down there. A lot of great people that are in that show. Can't wait to see it tonight. Plus, we are taking the legend, Bob Nelson, to see that show. Canaries have their home opener on Friday night. It includes fireworks. Between all of that, we still have a wedding to go to and a party to go to. Kind of a big weekend. And then coming up next week, on the show, we have actor Tyler Johnson. And we also have Common Ground. That's right, Brady and Katie Reed actually at the same time for once. So we look forward to all of that. And look forward to hearing from you. Always drop us a line. We love your feedback. So please go to DaveHolleyHour.com. You'll find all 130 episodes there. Enjoy them all if you'd like. Binge listen. All right. Remember, South Dakota Arts, or Arts South Dakota, I should say, says, home is where the art is. And I am going to put a little art in your heart. I'm Dave Holley, and for me, every day is a holiday. Have a great week.
The Dave Holley Hour has been brought to you by the Sky Lounge and Tea, XL Chiropractic, Quality Nails, Ale Hop Brewery Tours, and Jesse Moppet Entertainment. If you would like to contribute to the continued success of this podcast, go to DaveHolleyHour.com. At the bottom of the front page is the additional links section. Click on the orange button, Dave Holley on Linktree. You can order merchandise, become a Dave Holley Hour VIP, and make contributions to the show. The Dave Holley Hour is produced in the Dipsy Doodle Studios by Big D Entertainment.
Thanks for listening.